Well, the students, it is the week 9 and we are covering different factors and patterns of the Pakistani economy. In the previous video, we covered services, tourism, and remittances, that how they are the major contributors in the sustaining Pakistani economy. Here it is labor and taxation. You know that since Pakistan and not just Pakistan but all the subcontinent, uh, the workers or the laborers, it is agriculture economy, and there was less industry, and even in that less industry like factories and mills, laborers are in large in number. Fine, those who work on the fields, work in the different kinds of mills, factories. Fine. So, laborers constitute a large number of uh, population as well as the workers. Well, the fight for the rights of laborers is very old. You know this, that the unequal distribution of wealth in the capitalist society, unrest and completely dissatisfaction spread it among the workers throughout the world. If you explore the history of British and especially the American history, you find this, that the northern you find this, that American businessmen and the landowners was extremely uh, cruel, and they had grabbed much of the basic rights of the laborers. The 1st of May, the Day of Laborers, is celebrated to commemorate the sacrifices of Chicago, where the laborers were shot down who were protesting for their rights. Fine. The same thing is everywhere. The very important revolution, communist revolution in Russia, that sweep the entire world at time, was based on the rights of the laborers, and same is the socialism, that everything should be shared with the public. So basically, the basic rights of the public laborers, their the inequalities they subjected to, rose the tension, and finally they got into the civil war. Same situation was in India, and still there are the labor unions who have been established because the constitution provides them right to establish labor unions, so that the laborers may raise their voices in front of the factory or the business owners. Fine. uh, let's read, and then the trade unions movement dates to the late 19th century, but because Pakistan's industrial sector, inherited at independence, was so small, organized labor as the proportion of the total employment is still in minority. This has not prevented it from becoming an important political force. Before the 1971 Civil War, there were considerable more than 1,000 registered unions, most of them organized with individual establishment. Countrywide unions based on the common craft or a particular industry were very few. Most of the unions were situated in the urban centers and were affiliated with one of the three national labor confederations. After the Civil War and emergence of Bangladesh, the number of unions declined to few hundreds, affiliated with one umbrella organization, the Pakistan National Federation of Trade Unions. Because of countries' relatively high rates of unemployment, employers have remained in the strong position, and many of them have been able to bypass working agreements and law. Only the unions in the larger industries, cotton, textile, have had necessary coherence to fight back. Labor laws introduced in 1972 met some of the demand: job security, social welfare, pension of the organized laborers, but also sought to control political activity by the industrial workers. Labor unions' activity was severely constrained by the military government of 1977 and 88, but was subsequently revived during the first administration 1988 to 1991 of the Benazir Bhutto. This entire description says that labor unions were established in the time of British. Clear? Till 1971, over 1,000 labor unions were working in Pakistan. But unfortunately, the unfortunate event of 1971, when Bangladesh emerged, these labor unions came lesser. Well, what labor union does? Labor union actually is the body of the laborers which struggles to survive the basic rights of the laborers against the employers, against the mill owners or the factory owners. Okay, actually, owing to saturations, increasing the number of laborers, cheap labor is available, and there is a competition. Thereby, these employers, these workers get the benefit of this saturation, and they force or compel the people to work on the uh, low income. Fine. Secondly, another unfortunate thing that is working on the increasing price, the increasing taxation and the life demands have compressed the laborer of Pakistan into the situation that now an unrest is uh, being sweep into the country. And in the most recent time, we have seen when the fuel prices are going high, food prices are going high, and all the areas, the common person with low income, with low purchasing power, is suffering the most. They are in extreme tension, while the government and the other agencies are trying to fix this and trying to find the solutions, but still there is no some uh, betterment is in uh, the action. Fine. So this is really a drawback, but there is another problem that these labor unions also exist with the worker unions in the government organizations like in OGDCL and PTCL and many departments. So these labor unions, worker unions, sometimes become very exploitive. They force the government to comply with their demands. For example, in the previous many years, the young doctors, clear teachers, demonstrations against the government policies, and they were demanding to raise in their income, this and that. But this is a worse thing owing to the political involvement. These people start their struggle for the basic rights, but unfortunately, their struggle is hijacked by the political parties, and they prepared them, they took them on the roads, okay, and they destabilize a running government. And the next, when the next government constituted, the laborers remain the same, and then they have to join the other parties who come in front. Okay, we will come to your to rescue you. This is a really a worst thing. There are some other problems with the laborers, that sometimes companies do not pay them their proper income, they do not provide them incentives. These are the common problem with the labor in Pakistan, and that's the reason that people either wish to join the government sector, or either they wish to go or move abroad for the better livelihood, and they are reluctant to work with the national adventurers, or the national employers, just because of certain irregularities and exploitations. The next thing is taxation. Let's read. Taxation accounts for the main source of government revenue. The government levies sales tax, income taxes, custom tax duties, and excise taxes. Sales and income taxes account for the largest proportion of all revenues, with non-tax receipts constituting a large portion of the balance. Government expenditures exceed revenue by large amounts. Income tax rates have been comparatively high, but the tax base has been so small that the individual and the corporate income tax revenues have remained substantially lower than excise, sales, and other indirect taxes. The government has been able to maintain heavy expenditures on the development and the defense because of the inflow of the foreign aid and the worker remittances. Well, taxation is the backbone of the country's economy. If the taxes are properly paid, collected, submitted, and utilized, automatically the is become vigorous in terms of economy. It vigorates the national economy. But unfortunately, at all stages, there are loopholes, there are inadequacies, there lies incompetencies, corruption, nepotism, and many things are involved in the very sensitive. In the Western world, taxation or the tax stealing is equivalent to the death of the society. Clear? And tax concealing is considered to be the highest of the crimes. But in Pakistan, tax stealing, tax grabbing, tax hiding, tax they are the tactics. In tax state, tax has the various layers. Number one, the government of all times expends more, whereas the income is low. For example, they start unnecessary, less fruitful, unintelligent programs. Fine, clear, for the people. They pay taxes. Secondly, within those programs, a huge chunk of income goes to the corruption, and resultantly, these this money is borrowed from IMF, World Bank, Asian Bank, clear, or the neighboring countries like China, Saudi Arabia, America, and others, and that is not their own money; they have to return. Thereby, government all the time increases taxes. Some are the direct taxes, others are the indirect taxes. These taxes include sale tax, income taxes, custom duties, excise taxes, sales income tax. Okay, and that's the reason that these taxes equally crush the people. But lastly, the more crushed are the laborers. Fine, they crush they put heavy taxes on import and export, on production, fuel and adjustment, and others. This is how the worker, this is how the businessman suffers a lot. But finally, entire load is converted to the laborer. Fine. And likewise, country never supports their laborers, their industry, and they become more and more, uh, they become poorer and poorer, and resultantly countries have to compromise over their precious department and the sovereignty. Although the government has tried to, uh, there have many problem means programs have been introduced, but unfortunately, over and again, within the government, the tax stealing and the money laundering, such cases have weakened Pakistani economy a lot, especially in the government, the previous government of PPP. The scandals of the money laundering were extraordinary. Then bank scam scandals, they were those scandals which have really poked Pakistani economy. Fine. Thank you very much.